So the first bike that we owned, and I guess, Matt, we'll start with you, shall we?
We'll start with me, yeah, because I was the first of us to own a bike, being the old one here. And my first bike was a Yamaha FS1E Fizzy. What an icon of the period, although at the time we didn't know it was an icon. But it was just one of those, it was a horrible looking bike, actually, I think. You know, you look at them now and you go, ooh, that's ugly.
What made you get a Fizzy then?
Because a mate of mine was selling one. I didn't care. I just wanted two wheels. It was the day I was 16, I got it. And I didn't really care what it was. I'd done no research into whether I wanted an AP50 or whatever the Honda was, or a Gilera off-road thing. I just ended up with this Fizzy because a mate of mine was selling it.
Cool. And you liked the Fizzy?
It had two wheels. It got me around. I loved it. As I say, I can't compare it because I didn't ride anything else for when I was 16. But yeah, I loved it because it was freedom. It was two wheels, and it was a motorcycle.
How many years did you have the Fizzy for?
Exactly 1 year. Exactly 1 year, because the day I was 17, I jumped on a 250. Amazing. Yeah, none of the 125 stuff for me.
Did that feel like a big leap then, I imagine? It
did in a way, but it was an XS 250, so they were kind of dull compared to some of the 250s. An RDLC would have been preferable, or a KH or something. But again, you know, I just wanted to leave the 50 behind, and so whatever I had, it was fine by me. Yeah.
And how about you, Tone, your first bike?
I had a beautiful black Honda CBR 125. It was amazing. An 06, I think it was, or an 05. I bought it for like 2,700 in like 2009, or 1,700, I can't remember exactly. It was a lot of money. Absolutely adored that bike until I saw a picture of myself on my way to my Mod 2 test. My other half took a picture of me on it, and it looked like a monkey bike for me. It was so small. And I'm not the tallest, 6'1" or 2" or something like that. And then this bike just looks so small beneath me.
Please tell me we have access to that photo insert.
I have that picture, yeah.
We have to put that
I had the worst helmet on. I had the Dashini, which I bought for like 80 quid at the time. And it was just this big round monstrosity of a helmet. It was ridiculous. I loved at the time, I didn't really, of the helmet and everything, I was just on two wheels. I didn't care. But then when I saw this particular picture, I was like, no. I'm glad I'm getting my test done. I'm glad I'm going to a bigger bike now. But I love that bike. I did everything on that bike.
Because you and your buddies all had the same bike, didn't you? Didn't you all have CBRs?
A few of us did. My friend Josh had the next generation. Matt had the next generation. So I was the only one with like the little carbs.
You had the spindly job. Wheels.
Yeah, I had the little wheels, carburetor, and it was wicked. It wasn't as fast. It wasn't as agile as 125s can be, but it was wicked. I loved it.
And I feel like you said you made quite a lot of changes to that bike, didn't you?
Out of necessity, yeah. So I put bigger tyres, what was it, like 110s or something on it on the back. So I say bigger. It was bigger than marginally, respect, yeah. All of your standard bits, like brake pads and oil and fork oil, all of that stuff. And then a whole new engine, because I blew up the engine.
Whee!
On a Honda.
Well done.
Just going home from work one day, because I work nights at 7 in the morning, going up a hill, and it just, piston ring went, and just everything went kaboom. So I bought an engine off eBay the next day for 150 quid, chucked it back on the road in a day or two.
Did you have any oil in the engine?
Yeah, it was all fine. It was just the way I read it at the time. I was an absolute muppet.
There's a bit of a theme with you and blowing engines up, isn't there?
Yeah. I've changed, my CBR 125, I changed the engine. My Bandit, I had to change the engine because I dumped it in the snow and it shifted the crankshaft over.
Wow.
Yeah, it had a lightweight NRG racing cover on it and it did nothing to protect anything. I hit a pile of snow at like 40 and it just went over so hard. Had no crash protection or anything like that. And then the Explorer, that was nothing to do with me. That was just a Triumph issue. So sure. I can't take credit for that one.
My first bike was a Sinis RS125. So I came into motorcycling a lot later than you guys, a lot later than I would have liked. I let people put me off riding a motorcycle for far too many years. So this was only 5-6 years ago. Sinosaurus 125. I think that was a very short-lived model. I think it was out for a year. And the factory that made it went back to making munitions and guns. So but then that's a bit of a running theme with bike companies, isn't it? Like Royal Enfield, for some reason you make guns or you make motorcycles, weirdly. But I really loved that bike. It was really good. A couple of simple mods I made were to upgrade the chain to a DID 428, and that transformed it. It felt so much nicer with a DID chain on it. Surprisingly, the stock tyres are actually pretty good. I think it had Kenda tyres on it. They're actually better than my friggin' OE Yamaha tyres.
Well, your Yamaha ones are like Bridgestones, though, aren't they?
They were Bridgestone, but now I've got the Dunlop Mutants on, and it's much, much better.
I can't get along with Bridgestones. I've had Continental Motions on most of my bikes. Then they went bad, but Bridgestones is just not one for me.
Yeah, I think that the doing things to your bike, unless it was just me that wasn't aware of it all, which is highly likely, it didn't kind of occur with me. I mean, the Fizzy being a two-stroke, to me, just keeping it decoked and on the road was, especially in the rain, was the main thing. Because it had a sort of cylinder head that stuck out the front, just where all the spray from the front wheel kicked straight in against the spark plug. So, every time you went out in the rain, you didn't get very far. I did nothing to that bike. It was already sprayed a custom blue, which I was thankful for, because the original colours were purple and
that one,
gold. I think there was a gold one and maybe a yellow one, and they were even a brown one. I think they were all pretty horrendous. But yeah, apart from just spark plugs and air filter and decoking the exhaust, I did nothing really to that bike.
Chain? Did you do chain?
I never put a new chain on it or sprockets. All I did was chuck some gear oil on it every now and then.
So you did maintain it?
I did maintain it. I guess I didn't really do a huge mileage on it because I was still at school. So during kind of the school terms, I didn't use it that much at all. It was getting to work during the school holidays type thing for me, and to the parties, of course, and trying to get back from the parties at 6 o'clock in the morning to work. Didn't always work, but it was a good effort.
So out of necessity, before I got into motorcycling, I was always modifying my push bikes. From youngest age I can remember, when I was cycling, I was always modifying, putting 5 bikes to make one bike, all of this stuff, and it was just out of habit to modify mine. I would just change and upgrade. It wasn't really anything custom, but like brake lines, I would make sure I got good brake lines, the brake pads, all the brake seals and everything. It's just, if I noticed something, I would change and upgrade if I could. I was quite obsessive over the brakes of my 125 because it was so easy. It was one piston, one line. I would just bleed it. I'd be bleeding it all the time for no apparent reason.
Well, yeah, but the new stuff, is that you trying to improve the bike, or just because you want it to look different and be different?
When it comes to the mechanical parts, it was a case of trying to make it as best as it could, because at the time I had a group of friends who would all have 125s and all be stupid and full throttle everywhere and race everywhere. I just wanted to have squeeze as much power out of it as I could, even though there was nothing there. There was no power whatsoever. To back then I thought air filters and spark plugs were going to make a huge difference, which they do to more of a difference on a smaller bike, but it would just be changing things for the sake of it. I think I've done 1,000 miles on spark plugs, so because I can change it nice and easily, I just did. Yeah. When it comes to styling, I had a friend who did carbon fibre wrapping, like vinyl wrapping. So I just got about every panel I could covered in carbon fibre, fake carbon fibre, because I was 19 and thought that was cool. But yeah.
Did you put some across the visor on your helmet?
I didn't get that far. But even like things like taking off the grab rail of the seat, I would just do that and try and find some blanking plates. And even the fairing, by the time I got rid of it about 3 years later, the fairing was trash. It went over I think it was on its side about 15 times over the time I had it, on both sides equally. But it kept going, kept soldiering through, and just every decision I made, modifying it, upgrading it was such a huge decision. It was such a huge thing back then. Like the exhaust, obviously I've got a new exhaust for obviously a I can't remember. I think it was a Venom or something like that, and that took me ages to decide because I was, oh, it makes such a difference about it, and it was just a loud fart cannon by the end of it. So
That's interesting because when I had the RS, obviously there wasn't an exhaust for that bike, but I found out I think that it's based on the YBR engine. So I bought a YBR downpipe and modified it to fit a Toro end can. So I kind of shonkily made a custom exhaust for it, and it actually did help. I found that it opened up the power a little bit. You know, when you've got a 125, there's not much to work with, but having just a aftermarket exhaust made a big difference for me.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and it becomes more prevalent. That's the right word, isn't it? With all the emission stuff that's happening now, just to get your bike to feel a little bit asthmatic and breathe a bit better is what everybody really wants to do. And the two main ways of doing that, obviously, are your air filter, get a high flow pump, getting more air through there, and your exhaust, letting everything that's going in get out easier.
I mean, back then, like my CBR one wasn't restricted at all. Really, it was built to be that, and it was quite free breathing as it was. So, but like bikes nowadays are a lot more restricted, a hell of a lot. So back then it was that of just, I want to do it, there's no real need. But now it's kind of, you want to, as you say, unlock the bike, you need to do that sort of thing, don't you?
Because one of the workshop guys this morning was saying that the 2021 Duke 125 is not as powerful as last year's model because of all the Euro 5.
Yeah. And I think it's such a shame that so many of them, the good models that have been around, say, between 15 and 20 now with Euro 5, some of them are just not making the grade. They just and they were all pretty lean anyway, weren't they? They were all sort of made for Euro 3 and 4. And now they don't exist anymore because they're not allowed. It's crazy. But the funny thing is that, of course, that all these bikes that are set up for Euro 5 is purely just to sort of kowtow to a law, isn't it? Because as soon as everybody gets the bikes, yes, we fit the open exhaust, we fit the air filter, and do everything we can.
I think as well, when you think about it, a 125 in terms of emissions is nothing compared to a car. So I guess it's a bit crazy to be so. To have a teaspoon of petrol going in every, like 4.5 miles. Well, I think that's probably all that we've got time for the 125 chat. We've discussed some upgrades.
125. I'm sorry, my Fizzy was a 50.
50. Well,
The first bike chat, we'll call that.
Dweeb machine, yeah. Dweeb machine.
Dweeb machine.
Yeah. But one final point I'd like to make is: did you guys ride with people? You had friends that you rode with, or did you ride on your own?
There were 2 or 3 guys that I knew at the time who had 50s as well. But I tended to, because I lived out in the sticks a bit, and the only time I'd see these other guys usually was at parties. So more often than not, I'd be riding by myself. And again, to and from work. It wasn't really until I got into the 250 that I had I found someone to ride with. I had a friend.
Because I just used to ride on my own. I'd ride down to Saltdean or whatever, and I didn't. But then I didn't have like a group of biking buddies who were coming up at the same time, all getting into bikes. It was just me and all my housemates thinking I'm a weirdo for riding 125.
So I had constantly riding with people all the time. I had a group. There was a core group of about 20 of us who would meet up often, and then that grew over time, and it would more become a weekly bike meet where there was loads and loads of us, but on the regular there was between 10 and 20 of us who would go and up to Eastbourne and White Ways and all of those kind of fun stuff, just being spanners. Back then we were cool, like Devil's Dyke runs and stuff. Back then we were yeah, cool. And then no, but it's always riding with people. The only time I wasn't riding with people was when I was going to and from work. But I just really enjoyed it. Now so much I like riding with just me and Matt, or I like a solo ride sometimes, but back then, constant. It's just so different.
I guess we'll call it there, shall we? I hope you enjoyed that episode of General Talk. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out our other videos. And we'd actually like to get some suggestions from you guys of 125s you'd like us to buy in, maybe tear apart and make some guides on. We've got some projects in the pipeline for the company YZF-R125. But if there's any other thing you think we should look at, let us know. I've been Grant. This is Tone. That's Matt. And we'll catch you next time.